My grandfather wasn't one for wild stories. A quiet man, rooted in reality, he didn't believe in the supernatural. That's why when he shared this tale, it shook me. It wasn't just the story itself, but the look in his eyes, the tremble in his voice. It was a late summer evening, years ago, when my grandfather was in his 60s. He sat in his favorite chair on the front porch, the day winding down peacefully. The air was calm, with only the rustle of leaves and the creak of the porch boards beneath him. As he sat there, something strange happened. He heard a faint voice calling his name from inside the house. He brushed it off, thinking it was his mind playing tricks. But the voice came again, clearer this time. It was a familiar voice, soft yet urgent. Then unmistakably he heard, "John, come inside." He froze. It was the voice of my grandmother, who had passed away 3 years earlier. His heart pounded. He thought maybe he was imagining it, but the voice grew more insistent, repeating his name. "John, come inside." Uncertain and uneasy, he stood up. His rational mind told him it was impossible. No one could be inside the house. But the urgency of the voice pulled him, and he found himself walking toward the door. As soon as he stepped inside, a deafening crash came from behind him. He spun around to see that the heavy cast-iron gutter had fallen from the roof, smashing the chair he had been sitting in moments before. The chair was crushed, shattered under the weight of the gutter. If he had stayed outside, he would have been seriously injured, or worse. He stood there in shock, staring at the wreckage, slowly realizing how close he had come to disaster. My grandfather told me he couldn't shake the feeling that my grandmother had somehow warned him. That her voice had called to him from wherever she was, urging him inside to save his life. Even now, the memory sends chills down my spine. My grandfather wasn't the type to make things up. He swore it happened exactly as he said. And every time I think of it, I wonder what would have happened if he hadn't listened. If he had stayed on that porch, ignoring the voice. Sometimes, the world offers us glimpses of things we can't fully understand. My grandfather saw one of those mysteries,